What was, what was chapter 6 about? कौन बताएंगे? Chapter 6 was, Krishna was discussing
Dhyan Yoga.
Dhyan Yoga. That's right. And so he's finished Dhyan Yoga, and now we have in chapter 7 the crunchy part or the meaty part of the sandwich starts. Remember in the beginning I told you that Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters, 6, 6, 6. First 6 chapters is like the top layer of the sandwich. Last 6 chapters is the bottom layer. And in between the 6 chapters is the main, the tasty part of the sandwich, है ना? अगर आपको वो बीच का part निकाल दें तो उस sandwich का कोई meaning नहीं रह जाता. Would you eat that kind of a sandwich? No. And we are starting that from here, chapter 7. So now Khulkar Krishna is going to talk about, right from the first verse itself, he is going to openly declare, you know, who he is. Because he has already made the foundation. Arjun is now, has taken the position of a disciple. He's receptive. He already has Nishtha. And now, so faith is there, Nishtha is there. And now Krishna feels that he's ready to be given the high dose of Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga starts, chapter 7. Hello? All right. So, any volunteers for chanting the verse?
Can I?
Yes, we will. So,
Maya Sakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjam Mad Ashre Ashanshe Sangramam Mam Yatha Jnana Sita Chunu.
Yeah. So,
the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Parth, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt."
Yeah. So this verse has to be memorized. So let's repeat it one more time. Hai na? Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjam Madashrayah
Yogam Yunjam Madashrayah
Asamshayam Samagram Mam
Asamshayam Samagramam
Yatha Gyanyasi Tachrinu
Yatha Jnanyasi Tachrinu
Maya Saktamana Partha
Maya Sattamana Partha
Yogam Yunjam Madashrayah
Yogam Yunjam Madashrayah
Asamshayam Samagram Mam
Asamshayam Samagramam
Yatha Gyanyasi Tachrinu
Yatha Jnanyasi Tachrinu.
Okay. So, Mai Asakta. Mai means me, unto me, to me. Mai. I mean, from the first word itself, he has declared. Mai Asakta. Asakta means attachment. So, Mai Asakta, Manah. Manah is mind. What is he saying? Partha, O Arjun, attach your mind to me. Direct. Nothing else. There is nothing in between. Just attach Mai to me. Asakt, attach, Mana. Mai Asakta Mana, Partha. Then Yogam. Yogam means he's talking about Yog. Yunjam. Yunjam means practice this yoga. He's saying this is the yoga I want you to practice. अभी तक मैंने तुम्हें ध्यान योगा बता दिया, ज्ञान योगा बता दिया. Now I'm telling you, practice करने वाला योगा ये. Yog, yogam, yunjam. Practice this yog, mad ashrayah, in consciousness of me. मुझे ध्यान में रख के practice this yoga, mad ashrayah, in consciousness of me. Asamshayam. Asamshayam means definitely, positively, without doubt, without fail. Asamshay, no doubt. Asamshayam, samagram, mam. Completely. Samagram means entirely, completely. Mam, me. Yatha. Yatha means how. Yatasi. You can know. How you can know? How? By practicing yoga in full consciousness, in full consciousness of me. How you can know me in full? Tat Shrinu. Here, now here. Shrinu. Suno. Tat ab suno. कैसे मुझ में अपना सारा ध्यान केंद्रित करके आपको योगा करना है. So it's a very, very, I mean, Krishna has taken charge of Arjun now. He's giving him a direct instruction. It's a very, I like the authority in this verse. You know, he's to the point, straight away, to the point. So let's read the purport. In the 7th chapter of Bhagwad Gita, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulences, and how he manifests such opulences is described. Also, 4 kinds of fortunate people who become attached to Krishna and 4 kinds of unfortunate people who never take to Krishna are also described in this 7th chapter. In the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as a spirit soul who is capable of elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yogas. This is an introduction to all the different kind of yogas in the first 6 chapters, correct? We've been introduced to different kind of yogas. At the end of the 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that the steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of yoga. Krishna is giving him information of Dhyan Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, all these yogas he has described, but he has not said do this. He has just supplied information. But at the end of the 6th chapter, he says, but the best kind of yoga is that Mai Asakta Mana, in which you are attached, your mind is attached to Maya, me. That's the best kind of yoga. So by concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, but not otherwise. Maybe you can write this statement down, that all yogas are not the same, and all roads do not lead to the same destination. It's not that कोई भी पंथ पकड़ लो और कृष्ण तक पहुंच जाओगे. Not necessary. Only if you're attached to Krishna will you get complete knowledge, complete self-realization. It may or may not come with Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga may not lead you to Krishna. It can lead you to some demigod, some other planet. Even Dhyan Yoga, Gyan Yoga may or may not. Possibility is there, but you can easily get lost in between also. Only Krishna consciousness can take you directly. And you can understand all the other kinds of yoga by doing Krishna consciousness, but not otherwise. It's not ulta. The ulta part is not possible. Right? Impersonal Brahma Jyoti, or localized Paramatma realization is not perfect knowledge. Those who जो लीन होना चाहते हैं भगवान में. Prabhupada in a lecture gives a very nice information that Vishwamitra was such an advanced yogi that he could create human beings from trees. So सिद्धियों की बात हम सिद्धियों में फंस के रह जाते हैं. You know that I can do this. There was one yogi who could expand himself into 7 times. Cloning. वो अपने ही आपके 7 clones बना सकता था. These are just siddhis. This cannot be confused with that he will get saved from the cycle of birth and death. That this siddhi is not going to save him from the cycle of birth and death. This siddhi is just going to prolong your stay in the material world. That's it. Maybe you will go to some very high planet, maybe Brahmalok, enjoy some fantastic time there. But again, you have to face death. And who knows what kind of rebirth you get. So siddhis are not at all a guarantee to take you out from the biggest problem of our life, which is death. We do not want to die. We do not want disease. We do not want old age. And we do not want suffering. We do not want separation from our loved ones. We want our life to eternally be smooth and happy, correct? Right? So none of these siddhis can save you from that. So merging into Paramatma or merging into Brahman is just a kind of sayujya siddhi. Remember we discussed in one class there are 5 kinds of siddhis. Samipya siddhi, sayujya siddhi. Sayujya means I become like him. I merge into him. I become equal to him. That is sayujya. But that's not going to save you. You will still take birth again. Samipya siddhi. I'm close to him. I get a form like him. Swarup siddhi. जैसे उनके 4 हाथ वैसे मेरे भी 4 हाथ मुझे मिलेंगे. जो उनकी सिद्धियां हैं, जो वो पावर्स कर सकते हैं, वो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. All these are siddhis, but they are not the solution to our still. The basic problem remains. The basic problem still remains. And we get so attracted and enamored by all this magic that these gurus and babas do that we lose track of the basic problem. Always remember the story of that child who is lost in the Mela. All of us are lost in the Mela. So even if you get a fantastic magician in that Mela who comes and shows you Kartab, takes you to Disneyland free of cost, shows you all the rides, brings you back, you are still lost. Uska solution वो नहीं कर पाया, entertainment दे पाया आपको थोड़ी देर. So the basic problem, never lose track that the basic problem is the problem of birth and death. And none of these people are able to give a solution to that. Hence, Maya Sakta Mana Partha. It's the only way. No other way can bring you out of the cycle of birth and death. This is Krishna's own word. Sorry, I forgot to read the beginning of the verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Shri Bhagavan खुद कह रहे हैं. ये प्रभुपाद ने नहीं मैन्युफैक्चर किया, ना इस्कॉन ने मैन्युफैक्चर किया. इस भगवद गीता श्री भगवान उवाच क्या कह रहे हैं? मयि आसक्त मना पार्थ, please attach your mind to me. He is not saying to my guru, my rishi, my this disciple, my that disciple. He is not saying anything of that sort. It's very direct, very clear. There is no 2 words or 2 meanings about it. Maya sakta mana partha yogam yunjam mad ashrayah. Mad, मेरा आश्रय लो. मेरे साथ अटैचमेंट, अपने माइंड को मेरे साथ अटैच करो. मेरा आश्रय लो. असंशय, without doubt. Samagram, completely. Mam yatha gyan gyasyasi tachrinu. You will understand what I have to say and free you from all doubt. Listen, tachrinu. Listen to me. Paramatma realization is not perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. It is not wrong knowledge also, but it is not complete knowledge. It is partial. And half a picture is very dangerous. कहते हैं ना? That half knowledge is very dangerous. So that's very dangerous if you don't know the complete picture. Full and scientific knowledge is Krishna. And everything is revealed to the person in Krishna consciousness. If you are attached, if your mind is attached to Krishna, and Mad Ashray, you take ashray or shelter to Krishna, of Krishna, you surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna, then you will get the complete picture and you can make sense of the partial pictures also, of Paramatma, of Brahman. All kinds of pictures will be automatically clear to you. Dhyan yoga, Gyan yoga, Karma yoga, everything will be automatically clear to you if you just take Krishna consciousness. But if you take to Karma yoga, it will just one part of the picture is visible to you. The whole picture will not be clear to you. In complete Krishna consciousness, one knows that Krishna is the ultimate knowledge beyond any doubts. Different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows that Brahma Jyoti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna conscious yoga, one can know everything in full. What is that? The absolute truth. That is Krishna himself, the living entities, you and me, all the jivas, the material nature, this world, this planet, and their manifestations and paraphernalia. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Let's read that. What is the last verse of the 6th chapter?
Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenam taratmanam shraddhavan bhajate yomam tameyukta samantah.
Mataha. Yogi mam, of all the yogis, api sarvesham. कौन है उनमें सर्वश्रेष्ठ? तो इतनी वैरायटी ऑफ योगा कर रहे हैं दुनिया में. One with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Sa me yuktatamo matah. Sa me matah. मेरा मत है ये, मेरा ये ओपिनियन है. Yet people make so many wrong conclusions about what Krishna is saying. How it is so direct. He's clearly saying such a person is the highest of all kinds of yogas, who is thinking of me within himself, who always abides in me, and who gives me service. He is the, and this is my mat. Yet, itna argument, counter argument, speculation is going on in the world in the name of who's God. What are we supposed to do? Can you see how Maya acts? Therefore, to understand the Shastra, also you need Kripa. Direct लिखी हुई चीज भी जरूरी नहीं है समझ आ जाए. Unless you have a humble heart and you have the Kripa of the Acharyas or the saintly people, this knowledge, most confidential knowledge, guhyatamam knowledge, will be revealed to you. Otherwise, it's like a covering. It's there, but it's a mystery. ढूंढते रह जाओगे, नहीं पता चलेगा. This is a very, it's an eye opener, how Krishna is saying. Okay, sorry. So one should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Conclusion है ना? 6th chapter, 1st chapter के बाद आया, right? 2nd chapter के बाद आया 6th, 3rd, 4th, 5th के बाद आया ना 6th. तो 6th ही conclude हुआ ना? जो लोग कहते हैं कि नहीं गीता में तो ज्ञान योग भी बताया है, ध्यान योग भी बताया है, but can't they see that it is going in sequence? जब ये सब ज्ञान योग, कर्म योग, ध्यान योग बता दिए कृष्ण ने, तो फिर 6th चैप्टर में आकर वो क्यों कह रहे हैं दैट इति माम मतः, मेरे मत के हिसाब से दिस इज द परफेक्ट एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. सो it's the end of what should we say, debate should end here. The authority himself is saying that this is according to me. And then 7th chapter onwards, he's even more emphatically saying, Maya sakta mana, mujhme, directly. So concentration of the mind upon Krishna is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms. Navda Bhakti. कैसे कृष्ण की सेवा करनी है? Navda Bhakti के form में. Now this he is talking about practicality. We are talking about what? Both ज्ञान एंड विज्ञान. ज्ञान हमने बहुत देख लिया, अब हम विज्ञान की बात करेंगे. विज्ञान मतलब प्रैक्टिकली कैसे अप्लाई करना है. नवदा भक्ति. नवदा भक्ति में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है? श्रवणम, जो हम सब कर रहे हैं. एंड इट्स ऑल्सो द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. श्रवणम. The Lord therefore says to Arjun, Tat Shrinu, hear from me. ये नवदा भक्ति का फर्स्ट स्टेप, फर्स्ट अंग सिखा रहे हैं अर्जुन को. सुनकर ही तुम्हें ज्ञान मिल जाएगा. तत्श्रृणु. No one can be a higher authority than Krishna. And therefore, by hearing directly from Krishna, one receives the greatest opportunity to become a perfectly Krishna conscious person. How fortunate Arjun is. That is, here he is hearing directly from Krishna. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee who is upstart, puffed up with academic education. Again, you can make a note of the statement in your notes. Not from an academic education. We have so many novels in the market today. Shiva trilogy, Ram, Sita, a new take on Draupadi, written by academic educated people. Zero knowledge of devotion or surrender. What value? What authority do they have? And why are we considering them an authority on this subject? From a non-devotee, a puffed up, arrogant. And they are famous. It's already mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. These are the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Undeserving people will be given respect in society. will be worshipped in society, who are no better than animals. They will enjoy respect, adoration, and fame. So, one has to learn from Krishna directly or from a devotee of Krishna. Makes sense? You will hear about Krishna from a devotee of Krishna, from a person who is non-envious of Krishna. Only he can deliver Krishna to you, isn't it? Can an academician do that? Or a non-devotee or a puffed up person? He will color it with his misinterpretation. So why should you pick up any book, any garbage, and pollute your mind with that? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this process of understanding Krishna is described in the second chapter of the first canto. Okay, this is quite big. Let's read the translation. To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita is itself a righteous activity. Shrinvatam swakatha Krishna, punya shravana kirtana. Shrinvatam, again, Shrinvatam is shrunu, to hear. Swakatha Krishna, ya Krishna khud, Krishna se sunna directly, punya shravana kirtana is itself punya. To hear directly from him or through the Bhagavad Gita itself is a righteous activity. Hridi antastho hi abhadrani vidhunoti sruhit sratam. And for one who hears about Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. So Shravanam is so powerful. Shravanam itself is enough to develop Bhakti Yoga. If you can just do Shravanam about Krishna from a pure devotee, you will get asakti for Krishna, attachment for Krishna. If it can happen in the material world, why not in the spiritual world? None of us have met Hitler. लेकिन उसके बारे में सुन सुन के हमारे मन में कितनी घृणा है उसके लिए. केवल सुना ना, मिले तो नहीं, देखा भी नहीं. We have formed our opinion. उसी तरह झांसी की रानी, न कभी मिले न देखा, सुन सुन के केवल उनकी कथा सुनकर we adore her, we give her so much of respect. So अगर ordinary materialistic लोगों के लिए के बारे में hearing से इतना impact हो जाता है. You know, girls, if they just hear about the good qualities of a boy, they just get attracted to that boy and they want to marry him. Na kabhi mile, na kuch, sirf uske bare mein sun ke they make up their mind. So why not? Why can't that happen in the spiritual world also, about spiritual subject matters? Keval Krishna ke bare mein sunkar you can develop love for Krishna. If you hear about his glory, his chivalrous activities, his charm, you will develop an attachment for him, an unshakable, deep love and devotion for him. So Shru is, to hear is very powerful. है ना? Okay. A devotee who constantly engages in hearing of Krishna naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from his devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Shravanam is extremely powerful and it is an irreplaceable ang of Narda Bhakti. And therefore it is on number 1. Bhakti starts with number 1. Shravanam, first hear about him, then then glorify him. Kirtanam. Ye do hi enough hai. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance. And thus, material lusts and avarice are diminished. How? Our enviousness for Krishna starts reducing when you start hearing his glories. उनसे enviousness थी हमारी, तभी तो हम यहाँ हैं ना. So our enviousness for him starts reducing. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness. He becomes enlivened by devotional service and he understands the science of God perfectly. He becomes the sthita pragya, unshakable in his conviction, in his nishtha, in his faith. He becomes unshakable. Even death cannot shake his faith. Thus, bhakti yoga severs. Severs means cuts. Cuts the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asamshayam samagram. What is samagram? Completely. And asamshayam, without doubt. Bina sanshay, without doubt. You can understand the supreme absolute personality of Godhead. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. How crystal clear is that? Okay, let's go to the next verse. Who would like to repeat?
Should I do?
Yes. Jnanam teham savijnanam.
Jnanam teham savijnanam
Idam
Idam.
vakshyami ashe satah.
idam vakshyami
Asheshatah.
asheshatah
Yagyatva neha bhuyo.
agyatva
Yagyatva.
yagyatva neha bhuyo
No, bhuyo.
bhuyo
Anyaj.
anyaj
Gyatavyam avashishyate. Anyaj.
anyaj
Gyatavyam.
gyatvatvam
Gyatavyam
gyatva
avashishyate.
gyatvam avishyate
Gyatavyam.
gyatavyam
Gyatavyam avashishyate.
avshishyate
Jnanam teham savijnanam.
ज्ञानम तेहम सविज्ञानदम
Idam vakshyami asheshatah.
इदं वश्यामि शेषतः
Yagyatva neha bhuyo.
यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोदित
Anyaj gyatavyam avashishyate. Anyaj gyatavyam avashishyate.
अन्य ज्ञातत्व अविशिष्यते.
Yeah, you can read the translation.
I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numerous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know.
I just like the feeling of this, that Krishna has taken charge of Arjun. So Arjun is under full protection of Krishna. I mean, he's protected from confusion now. He's protected from cheating of all kinds. So Krishna is saying, I shall now declare unto you in full. I'm going to tell you in full this complete knowledge, mystery about God. both phenomenal and numinous. इसका मीनिंग पता है किसी को? Do you know what is phenomenal and what is numinous? Vijnanam is numinous and Jnanam is phenomenal. ज्ञान विज्ञान, ये हमने पहले भी किया एक वर्स में. Remember? I remember Veenu saying आज मुझे ज्ञान और ज्ञान के बारे में बहुत अच्छी तरह पता चल गया. And he's again repeating. ज्ञान विज्ञानम. Gyan is phenomenal knowledge, Vigyan is numinous knowledge. So what's the difference between Gyan and Vigyan?
Means theoretical and practical.
Yes. So a little more on that. Jnanam, phenomenal, means knowledge of this material world. Materialistic knowledge is Gyan. And nominal, Vigyan, is spiritual knowledge. So Gyan Vigyan is actually materialistic knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Materialistic knowledge is knowledge of the body, which is not the real thing. And spiritual knowledge means knowledge of the soul, which is the real thing. Krishna is saying, now I'm going to tell you this knowledge of Gyan and Vigyan. And this being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Avashishyate. Gyatva gyatavyam avashishyate. Avashishyate मतलब कुछ बच नहीं जाएगा जानने के लिए. जब ये जान जाओगे दोनों तरह की नॉलेज, फिर कुछ भी जानने के लिए बच नहीं जाएगा. It is इसमें सब कुछ आ जाता है. So complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. We need to know how this world works. That knowledge is phenomenal knowledge, materialistic knowledge. ये शरीर कैसे चलता है, दुनिया कैसे चल रही है, इसकी नॉलेज भी होनी जरूरी है, तभी तो इस शरीर को यूज कर पाएंगे, इस दुनिया को यूज कर पाएंगे. And then knowledge of the spirit who is inside this body. And then dono kisne banai? Who is the source behind both material and spiritual? This is transcendental knowledge. असली knowledge तो यही है ना, पूरी picture तो इसी से बनती है कि आपको material knowledge भी है, spiritual knowledge भी है, और दोनों कौन चला रहा है. अगर ये तीनों चीजें आपको पता चल जाती हैं तो then your information is complete. The Lord wants to explain the above mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord. जो हम अभी discuss कर रहे थे कि हमने 4th chapter में भी ये ज्ञान विज्ञान पढ़ा है. And it is again confirmed here. Again, he is repeating it in the 7th chapter. मतलब ये कितनी important चीज होगी कि ये repeat की जा रही है. Krishna is repeating it 2nd time. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in the disciplic succession directly from the Lord. Evam paramparat praptam. जो परंपरा से आ रहा है और भगवान के भक्तों द्वारा आ रहा है, वही सही what is the word, unpolluted information है, free from misinterpretation. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes, and the only object for meditation in all types of yoga practice. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known. Nothing remains unknown. Okay. The Vedas say, Kasmin yu bhagavo vignate sarvam idam vignatam bhavanti ti. So what he is declaring in this verse is that this is the final authority. Now hear from me, he's saying. Okay, third verse. Manushyanam sahasreshu. Vaishali.
मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु
Kaschid yatati siddhaye.
कश्चित् यतति सिद्धये
Yatatam api siddhanam.
यतताम् अपि सिद्धानां
Kaschin mam veti tattvataha. Kaschin
कश्चिन् मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः कश्चिन्
Manushyanam sahasreshu.
मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु
Kaschid yatati siddhaye.
कश्चित् यतति सिद्धये
Yatatam api siddhanam.
यततामपि सिद्धानां
Kaschin mam veti tattvataha.
कश्चिन् मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः.
Okay, read the translation.
Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth.
So manushyanam, matlab out of manushya, sahasreshu, thousands. Out of thousands of manushya, kaschit, maybe one. Yatati siddhaye. Yatati. Hardly एक मेहनत करेगा perfection के लिए. He is himself declaring. 4 लाख तरह के तो मनुष्य हैं. So he's saying out of thousands of such men, one will endeavor, मेहनत करेगा. And of those, और इनमें इस तरह का जो thousands में से एक करके हमने इकट्ठे कर लिए, जो कर रहे हैं endeavor, ऐसे अगर 1000 इकट्ठे हो जाते हैं, out of all those who have achieved perfection, उनमें से भी only one maybe will understand who I am. So there are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in spiritual subject matter. है ना? Body क्या है? मैं कौन हूँ? भगवान कौन है? Generally, mankind is simply engaged in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and nobody is interested in this knowledge. The first 6 chapters of Gita are meant for those who are interested in spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and this process of realization, Gyan Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can be known only by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Simple. Dhyan Yoga does not mean Krishna consciousness, Krishna Yoga. कुछ जरूरी नहीं आपको कृष्ण पता चले. Gyan Yoga also is not necessarily about Krishna. Karma Yoga, not at all necessary about Krishna Yoga. So Krishna, आप केवल कृष्ण कॉन्शियसनेस से ही जान पाओगे ना. Very simple. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization, for this is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the supreme person, but at the same time, he is beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. The yogis and jnanis are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna. Although the greatest of impersonalists, Shankaracharya, Sripad Shankaracharya, has admitted in his Gita commentary that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. His followers do not accept Krishna as such because it's very difficult to know Krishna, even though one has transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the primeval Lord Govind. Lord Brahma बता रहे हैं उनके बारे में. Lord Brahma, who is the first created living entity, इस दुनिया के सबसे पहले जीव living entity is Lord Brahma. वो खुद बोल रहे हैं, क्या बोल रहे हैं? ईश्वरः परमः कृष्ण सच्चिदानंद विग्रह, अनादिर आदिर गोविंद, सर्व कारण कारणम, सभी कारणों के कारण कृष्ण है. He is the cause of all causes. He is declaring. But it's very difficult for the non-devotees to know him. Although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti is very easy, लेकिन वो खुद practice नहीं कर पाते इसको. If the path of bhakti is so easy, as the non-devotee class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path of Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga? मतलब they look down upon भक्ति योगीज के, तुम तो इजी काम करते हो, बस बैठ के भजन ही करना है. हम कर रहे हैं मेडिटेशन, अपनी श्वास को रोक लेना, अपने मन को केंद्रित करना, कुंडलिनी जगाना. उनको लगता है वी आर डूइंग समथिंग मोर फैंटास्टिक देन भक्ति योगीज. दे लुक्ड डाउन, दे से ये तो बहुत आसान है, हमें ये आसान काम नहीं करना है. एक्चुअली द पाथ ऑफ भक्ति इज नॉट इजी. The so-called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti, that may be easy. है ना? There are many, अभी करते हैं लोग, भगवान दिल में चाहिए. हम भी करते हैं सब. हमने भी कृष्ण बिठाए हुए हैं घर में, लड्डू गोपाल बिठाए हैं. अच्छा, आप एकादशी रखते हो? नहीं, इन चीजों की जरूरत नहीं है. अच्छा, आप सुबह उठ पाते हो? नहीं, क्या जरूरत है, घर भी तो देखना है. अच्छा, आप जाप करते हैं? नहीं, मन में चलता रहता है. हम तो टीवी देखते देखते भी, आई मेट समवन हु सेड टीवी में देख रही हूँ, अंदर हमारा नाम का सिमरन चल रहा है. नहीं, तो ये सब कुछ नहीं करते. ये भी एक तरह की भक्ति है, भक्ति योगी है. सो these are unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti. They may say कि भक्ति योग is easy, but when it is practiced factually according to rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and the philosophers fall away. जहां पे बंदिश, rules और regulations आ जाती हैं और sense control आ जाता है, वहां पे everybody turns away, सब भाग जाते हैं. Srila Rup Goswami writes in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Veena Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpatayaiva Kalpate. मतलब devotional service of the Lord, मतलब bhakti of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishad, the Puran, and the Narad Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. You can note down this. It's a very, very important verse. Such people are a disturbance in the society. जो शास्त्र का विधि विधान का रेगुलेशन का पद्धति फॉलो नहीं करते. एंड देयरफॉर घर घर में आप देखोगे हर कोई अपने हिसाब से ही भगवान की पूजा कर रहा है, क्योंकि जो एक कॉमन स्टैंडर्ड था पूरे समाज के लिए, सब एक ही शास्त्र फॉलो करते थे, नारद पंचरात्रि का विधि फॉलो करते थे, उपनिषद और पुराण फॉलो करते थे, तो सब एक जैसा कर रहे थे. लेकिन जब ये फॉलो करना छोड़ दिया तो हर घर की अपनी ओन पद्धति शुरू हो गई जो उनको कन्वीनियंट है. इससे क्या हुआ? दे आर एन अननेसेसरी डिस्टर्बेंस इन सोसाइटी. आपने इनोसेंट फ्यूचर जनरेशन को गुमराह कर दिया. You snatched away the standard from them by diluting it yourself. और जब ये चीज डाइल्यूट हो जाती है, उसका आप आज देख सकते हैं कि डाइल्यूट होते 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 दूध में पानी मिलाते मिलाते एक स्टेज आ जाती है जब दूध बचा ही नहीं, रंग भी सफेद नहीं रहा, पानी ही रह गया. This is the big danger of not following authorized Vedic literature while doing bhakti. So today there is no bhakti left. Therefore, the society has weakened. Hindus, as we know, are weak because there is no standard, common standard to tie them all together. Hence, they are all independent, they are all fighting with each other, and the others are very easily able to overpower them, despite being a majority. Yeah, just a minute. It's not possible for the Brahman realized impersonalists or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjun. मतलब इस एक सेंटेंस से बहुत क्लियरली समझाया जा रहा है दैट जितने बड़े बड़े योगी हैं, जप और तप करने वाले हैं, वो हम उनको ऐसा समझ रहे हैं दैट दे आर वेरी एडवांस्ड. सिद्धियां भी अगर उनमें आ गई कि वो उड़ के कहीं जा सके या बड़े से बड़ा बन जाए, छोटे से छोटा बन जाए, या कोई भविष्यवाणी कर दें, दे आर nobodies. They actually have no value. We are so attracted and impressed by the gymnastics that they show. But even if they are Brahman realized or Paramatma realized, they don't know about Krishna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Mohyanti yat surayah. Mam tu ved na kaschana. No one knows me as I am. Krishna is saying. And if one does know him, then sa Mahatma sudurlabha. Aisa Mahatma bahut durlabh hai. And look at the apar mercy of Prabhupada that this most confidential knowledge he translated in a simple English language and brought it to a common person like us. ना हम योगी हैं, ना हम Brahman realized हैं, ना हम Paramatma realized हैं. We are nothing. And this most confidential knowledge is so easily and cheaply available to us. If we would just give it our Shravanam. Such a great soul is Sudurlabha. कहाँ दुर्लभ है? जिस आदमी को ये पता चल जाए स महात्मा सुदुर्लभ, अगर ये भगवत गीता घर घर में पहुंचा दो, सबको पता चल जाएगा. सबको पता चल जाएगा. It is not durlabh anymore. This world will become empty. Hell will become empty. यमराज आ जाएंगे. I am out of job. सब लोग जा रहे हैं. प्रभुपाद की भगवत गीता घर घर पहुंच गई. It's possible. I mean, ये इसलिए मैं बोल रही हूँ for you to realize that we are so fortunate, and this book that has come to us is so precious. It is so precious. Such a durlabh cheese has come to us so easily. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, one cannot know him. मतलब बिना कृष्ण की सेवा किए आप कृष्ण को जान नहीं सकते. सिंपल. और कृष्ण की सेवा कृष्ण के बनाए गए रूल्स के हिसाब से करेंगे, उसी को सेवा माना जाता है. अदरवाइज इट इज योर ओन मेंटल स्पेकुलेशन. चाहे आप लड्डू गोपाल बिठा रहे हैं, चाहे आप किसी और को बिठा रहे हैं, चाहे आप कुछ भी कर रहे हैं, कोई भी तरह की पूजा कर रहे हैं, इफ इट इज नॉट अकॉर्डिंग टू ऑथराइज्ड शास्त्र, it is shram eva hi keval. It's just hard work without any result. So even though one is a great scholar or a philosopher, you cannot know Krishna if you do not practice devotional service. Only the pure devotee can know something of the inconceivable transcendental qualities in Krishna. His being the cause of all causes, his omnipotence, his opulence, his wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, renunciation. Because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees. He is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Therefore, it is said, Ataha Shri Krishna Namadi. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ataha Shri Krishna Namadi. न भावे ग्रहयम इंद्रियैः सेवन मुखे ही जिह्वादौ स्वयमेव स्फूर्त्यदाः. Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is the great mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years back to easily give Krishna. Here, take, I'm giving you Krishna. जिनको ये भी नहीं पता है कि ब्रह्मन और परमात्मा क्या है, उनको डायरेक्टली कृष्ण दे रहे हैं. लास्ट स्टेज पे पहुंचा दिया. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. So, न भवेद ग्रह्यम इंद्रियैः, न भवेद, नहीं जान सकते इन इंद्रियों के थ्रू. ग्रह्यम, इंद्री के थ्रू, ये जो हमें इंद्रियां, हमें सेंस, परसेप्शन, इंटेलिजेंस, ये जो बॉडी मिली है, इसके थ्रू तो आप कृष्ण को बिल्कुल नहीं जान सकते. फिर कैसे जान सकते हो? सेवन मुखे ही जिह्वा दो. इस जिह्वा से अगर कृष्ण के नाम की सेवा करोगे, सेवन मुखे ही जिह्वा दो, स्वयं एव स्फूर्त्यतः, स्वयं वो रिवील हो जाएंगे आपको. He will come out of hiding. माया ने जो कवरिंग डाली हुई है, उसको फाड़ कर क्लैरिटी आ जाएगी. कृष्ण will be revealed just by using this जिह्वा in सेवा. सेवन मुखे ही जिह्वा दो. अतः श्री कृष्ण नाम आदि. So easily. So bhakti is very difficult, yet very easy. So we did 3 verses today, and let's wrap up with this.